go to the horizontal type tool in Photoshop. With that selected, set a font, set the size. I'm going with 72. You could go with maybe 200. Just set it, make it fairly big so you can see it, and type something. I'm just going to go with the word type. So with that, I can resize, change it, modify it in numerous ways. But also I can add a selection to it. So I can go here, select and load selection. So load selection, and then you've got option here. Obviously you've got the document name. Obviously it'd be different. Also, depending on the words you're using. So if you use XYZ, you will see XYZ transparency. Just like that. There's no selections, so new selection, click OK. So now with that selection, what you can do, you can go to the gradient, there, the panel. You can find that in the window. All the panels are here, so gradient, layers, etc. And you can simply click on there and just add that. Or you can drag it across, perfectly reasonable as well, and just change it that way. Another option is to go to layer, and personally I always prefer this one. I find it just as easy. Go here to gradient, so new fill layer and gradient. Click OK. And now layers, you can see it over here in the layers. You've got that gradient, and you can select change your mind. Let's go for a different, and you can go through a range of them. Maybe go for one like that, one of those ones. Whole load of gradients available. If you can't find all these ones, what you need to do is go to the right side menu here, and you can import gradients or append default gradients, etc. Or bring in the legacy ones as well. Now let's just remove that. You can change your style, so you don't have to go with linear. You could go with radial, etc. But I'm going to go with linear and angle 100, etc. Click OK. Well, what you can then do is you can also modify it again. You can always go back to it. So you think, oh, you know what, I want to change it now. So I'm just going to quickly double click there, and you can see your gradient fill, and you can say, oh, you know what, I just want to reposition that slightly. It's just not correct. So I'll just there, or maybe change the angle a bit, and so on and so on. But also, you can always bring the selection back again. So you can go to select, load selection, and again, exactly the same. Now this one, it says gradient fill mask. Click OK, and it obviously brings it back. So obviously the name's slightly changed, but however, you can still get your selection back. But what you can then do is you can go to layer, and you can go down again to new fill layer and gradient again. So you can create another one on top. So gradient there. And again, give it a name if you want. Normal, maybe go with difference. Don't have to go with thing. Unfortunately, because it's there, it just sort of doesn't seem to, you can't visually see what's going to happen. So it would be nice actually if it was on there. I don't know why it's not on there, but that's the way I've done it. And you can change the gradient. So you can decide, you know what, let's go for that one. And you can always change it later anyway, because you can always go to the layers panel. So going linear, you go radial, go through these. You can change a method. Very subtle differences. If you change there, linear, classic, just run through them. And you can see, and you can still continue to move that. So you can create maybe some sort of going down there. So the type is sort of drifting off. You've got that sort of there. Click OK. However, what you can also do is they're disconnected. You don't have to have them at the same place. There you can see, you can drag it. Got difference there. Don't have to have difference. You could go for linear light. So you can create that sort of design. You can also resize it. Now you don't want to resize it too much. Maybe go the other way. It's probably better, because unfortunately it will end up. So it's best to probably start really big and then go down than go the other way. What you can also do, of course, is you can cancel that. You can always turn around and say layer and smart objects can convert to smart object. So it becomes a smart object. So it's not going to sort of degrade so badly. You can manipulate it, transform it, etc. Though you can't apply brush strokes, etc. when you've used it as a smart object. But again, you can rotate it, and then you can resize it. Again, change blending modes. If you decide, you know what, I don't want that one, maybe use type that's just a hard mix or exclusion, divide, and so on. You can create a variety of different designs just by trying these out, and you can see the way it cuts through there, creates an interesting effect. Also, you can go to layer style, maybe go for a drop shadow as well. So you can add a drop shadow into the mix. Just maybe make it slightly there. Click OK. Variety of things. You can just jumble it up in all kinds of ways. And of course, now it's a smart object. Smart filters can be brought in as well. So you can turn around and say, oh, blur and Gaussian blur. So you can blur it slightly if you want to create a slight blurring effect. You can do exactly the same again. Now go back down to this layer, this type one. Now that's the thing, just go down to this one. That's the central, right back at the start, the whole thing, the type layer. So then go to select, load selection again, and then you've got type transparency. So that's the key thing there. If you go for the other one, it will obviously come up with mask instead. Click OK. And again, you've got your selection. And again, do exactly the same as before. Go to layer, new fill layer. And now, of course, you could go with solid color, but I'm going with gradient. So gradient there, click OK. And again, you've got another gradient there. And you can add another gradient into the mix. You can move that backwards and forwards. You can see the effect change there. But again, exactly the same as before. You can move it. So select that, reposition it. Now, sometimes you might end up selecting the other one. I always find just as easy just to deselect ones and say, you know what, I just want to select and work with that one and move that. So you can just move it around, reposition it, resize it. Again, apply effects, layer style, go for drop shadow, bevel and emboss, whatever. Click OK. And then you can always bring them back. And just select that, make certain they're all selected back. So you can end up with your jumble of type, which you can, of course, modify and tweak in all kinds of ways. And you can also just group them all together. So select the whole lot, everything group, and just go to layer and smart objects and convert them into a single smart object. So they're all jump. But you can still edit it. So you can always, with smart objects, the great thing about smart objects is you can double click here. Just go down this little thumbnail and double click it. And then you can edit all the way through and just change and tweak all the other settings. But now you've got that, you can resize this. You can then modify this. You can apply duplicates again, hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate it. And create multiple copies of that type design to fill it like that. Or maybe change the angles, rotate it a bit. Again, you don't want to push it too far. It's going to end up looking worse for wear. And also you can go and apply some effects. So you might, go for stylize, go for oil paint, and so on. Create a nice smeary sort of effect. Click OK. And you can distort it as well. Much, much more. Hope you found this of interest. Thank you much.